Hey, it's Joseph here. As promised, I am delivering you the full review of this laptop. Actually, two of them since I have received both the white and black version of the laptops. The overall first look and the spec of the devices were showcased on the previous unboxing/testing video, so please do check them out if you haven't already, and the links will be in the description. I do want to disclose that I have received this laptop from MSI for video coverage purposes like this, and I did use this laptop for various tasks such as web, email, video editing, and writing this outline, and light 3D work such as SketchUp and Revit. Oh, and since it does allow the pen input, I use it for note-taking and some sketches as well. It is not quite often that I do presentations, but the notable feature is to use this pen as a presentation remote for those of you who do presentations regularly. Personally, however, as I do most of my work on beefy desktops, I rely on thin and light 2-in-1 laptops to do note-taking by hand and doing some work on the go. Therefore, mobility is the biggest factor for me, at least when considering a laptop to carry around. So with that in mind, let's dive into looking at the details of this laptop based on my 1 month of usage. Let's go ahead and cover the overall exterior aesthetics and the design. The overall design is somewhat angular and corners are chamfered in such way so they appear a bit sharp, I would say. And I do like the design since it is kind of kept subtle, not really flashy in any way, great for business use type of scenario. And as I have mentioned previously, it is thin and light, just under 3 pounds in terms of the weight and 0.6 inches in terms of thickness. So it fits the bill of being able to carry it quite easily. However, just note the fact that this laptop is quite deeper or longer than other laptops that I am used to. I'll show why this is as we take a look inside of the laptop later. All the laptops that I have owned are either black or silver, and of the two options that I had, white and black for these laptops, I actually ended up picking the white one to use. The white one is actually slightly matte and the silver accents are around the edges and the logo. The black version has orange gold accents all around. Obviously the color is purely your choice, but the white seems to attract much less fingerprints on top. It does look quite clean right now, although I'm not so sure how well it will maintain that in a long-term use. And in terms of the materials being used, I think it is a mixture of metal and plastic. Some areas are actually quite cool to touch, but some areas are not. Nowadays, it's really hard to tell what kind of material your laptop is since it is coated with different type of material. And whilst handling the device, there's a bit of a plastic noise. So just kind of keep that in mind. Although this is an engineering sample that's been going out to different type of reviewers who may not so careful in terms of handling the devices. So who knows what's been done to this device. But yeah, that's something that I had noticed. And in terms of all the ports around the device, I have noted all of those in my unboxing and initial testing video. So please do check that video out. And as mentioned, there is a micro SD card reader on its side. It is not really a reader, it is more of a pop and store type of slot, I guess. And it is something that is very nice to have since you can just expand your storage. I know some people really like having a full-size SD card reader, but I don't particularly need one. So I would prefer to put one in and just kind of forget about it. The built-in storage of this unit is 1 terabyte, so it is quite plenty already. If you ever need extra storage, then you can definitely use this one. One other thing that I did not mention in my previous video is the battery reset hole. There's a hole for you to insert a small tip item such as a paper clip or SIM eject tool, and you can hold that button in there for 10 seconds to reset the battery in case your system somehow hangs and doesn't respond in a way it should. I had not need to use that just yet, but it is good to know in case something happens. Let's go ahead and open the device. I'll note that the hinge is quite solid and smooth, and it actually helps to lift the laptop as you can see on that corner. And you can also push it all the way down so that the device opens all the way to 180 degrees, and you can actually lift it up like so. And you can do the tent mode where you do presentation, although I don't really get to use that mode all that often. But the mode that I do use a lot is to just kind of flatten it out like so and flip the screen all the way. And this is now 2-in-1 note-taking mode. I actually did notice that there isn't any rubber of any kind on the keyboard side of the laptop to protect any of the keys that are here. So as you face down the keys onto the table, you'll inevitably rub the keys onto the table. I have a nice mat here to kind of protect the tabletop and also the devices that I handle on top. But if you were to put this down on a hard setup table, either wood or kind of messy desk and such, then yeah, you would be sliding and rubbing your keys up against it. So every time I lay my laptop down, I am wary of unclean tabletop surfaces potentially scratching my laptop. So just be sure to have a soft surface like this mat over here, or your laptop bag, or a sleeve for you to put your laptop on. If you look at the screen of the laptop, you'll notice that there's a bit of bezel on top and a chunky one at the bottom of the screen. This actually results a much taller or longer laptop than usual, as I have described. The laptop screen is actually taller than other type of laptop with 16:10 ratio. This means that you have a bit more of information that you will be able to enjoy in terms of the screen real estate when you're doing different type of tasks. Although I have seen other laptops with less of a chin at the bottom of the bezel, so I'm not necessarily sure why this was necessary, but in this case, I guess it kind of encases the hinge and some of the heat that is coming out of the vent. So yeah, it is sort of the design choice they have gone with. And in terms of the construction of the screen, it is very solid, I must say. So there's not much of a flex at all, and it does help whenever you're using your pen to write or do any of the touch controls on the screen, because it doesn't wobble. As you can see, it just stays there and it doesn't move around as you kind of hold the screen and then do any of the writing. And at the top of the device, there is IR camera that's actually blinking on me. I don't think you can see it on the screen, and if I kind of aim that towards me, it will just do the unlocking and then go onto the desktop. So it's really convenient that way to log in. And there is a subtle MSI logo which is kind of difficult to see. And in terms of the screen spec, it is 100% sRGB screen, IPS level. And whilst it is not heavily advertised, the screen is actually 120 Hz. And some may not notice the difference, but for someone who uses a lot of different devices, it is definitely noticeable, and it brings up the overall smoothness and responsiveness of the device when it is 120 Hz. However, there is a bit of a trade-off in terms of the battery life, since you have to spend a bit more to get that 120 Hz. But I think it's a worthy trade-off, since I really favor the 120 Hz aspect of it. And I don't know if it is related to the refresh rate of the screen, but as you plug in the power to the laptop, you'll see that it just kind of turns off and on again. And also if you unplug it, it'll just kind of turn off and turn back on. And as you can see, I'm currently testing out Windows 11, so this may be some driver related issue or the just OS related issue, but it is something that I wanted to report to you. And as stated on the spec, the screen is 13.4 inches diagonally. Along with the touch screen that is able to do, I must talk about pen, since this is the very first MSI laptop with a pen that I have tested out, and I like to use pen in my normal day-to-day stuff. I do take a lot of handwritten notes with my pen on my daily devices, so this is something that I was able to test out extensively. The pen is quite light and simple. I really do like it. It feels like a quality ink pen with some weight to it. I've tried many different type of styluses and pens over the years. I tend to prefer lighter and thinner type of pens than thicker or heavier pens, since I've broken a few pens by just purely dropping it, and the pen tips likes to kind of split as you drop them. And that is something that I'm definitely wary of when I'm handling the pen. And another unique aspect about this pen is the fact that you can charge it via USB-C. A lot of other pens take quadruple A batteries and that are kind of hard to get, and it makes the overall weight of the pen quite heavy. But I can simply charge this pen with the same charger as a laptop and just kind of keep it going. And one of the caveats that I did notice, however, is the fact that the pen doesn't hold the charge for a very long time. Not necessarily meaning that you can't use it for a long time. It is more of when it is not in use, it will slowly drain its battery and eventually just into the 0%. And that is a characteristics of all rechargeable batteries. If you were to buy those quadruple A batteries, then those are not really rechargeable. Therefore, they maintain charge for a quite long time, but this is not. So you just have to remember to charge them every now and then, and a short charge will get you going for quite a long time. And because the pen tip is plastic, it will just kind of run very smooth on the glass surface of the screen. And whilst I don't really mind that sort of feeling, I know some people don't prefer that kind of feel. So you can put some sort of protector onto the screen to kind of minimize that smoothness. So that is something that you can certainly do if you feel that this is just way too smooth for your liking. Because the screen is 120 Hz, as you write stuff onto the screen, it does feel very smooth and responsive. After trying this out, I really feel like all kind of two-in-one devices with the pen should have 120 Hz screen, because it really makes that much of a difference. The biggest pet peeve of mine regarding the pen is actually the way the pen attaches to the laptop. If you're intending to carry the laptop from one place to the other, you just simply attach and carry your laptop with you. But if you intend to store the laptop into the bag, I always slide this in, and then it'll knock out the pen and it'll drop. Or if you safely put it in, as you pull out the laptop, it will just kind of stay in there or gets jammed next time you try to put your laptop in. So yeah, I don't really like the magnetic attachment, because this simply is just accident waiting to happen. After dropping a lot of pens, I have noticed that. I'm not exactly sure how we can prevent this, and I think one of the solutions to that is to store the pen inside of the laptop. So make it smaller or thinner of some kind so that you can store it inside of the laptop. It would be a good way so that you don't lose it or drop it. And additionally, because I'm right-handed, as I use the laptop with my pen, and I have to attach the pen onto the left side like this. Not exactly sure why this decision was made. It doesn't really attach onto the right side. So I just have to go back and forth and attach the pen like that, or I don't know, toss it to my left hand and do this. And actually the pen attaches to the side of the laptop in two ways. So you can either attach it like this or like that. And because I tend to just write with my right hand, and if I were to go across the laptop, I will attach it like so, and which means that the tip is actually facing to the back of the laptop. And if the camera would focus, you'll see that now one of the Thunderbolt port is covered by the pen if you were to attach it like that. So now I gotta remember, go across the laptop when attaching the pen, and also reverse the pen so that it stays clear. So that is perhaps a bit of nitpicking, but that is something that I did not like. One of the hack that I have found was to attach the pen to back of the screen on the right side like that. doesn't seem all that legal, but I guess I'll just kind of do it. Although I may forget because I can't really see my pen, so I may be looking for my pen and not really realizing that I had it attached here. So that is not necessarily elegant solution, but that is possible if you're at a pinch. The pen connects to the laptop via Bluetooth, and the back button does a few different things. It actually works better on Windows 10, however on Windows 11 you can click it once to load the OneNote, so you can just go ahead and do your handwritten notes on there. And if you were to go to your PowerPoint, then you can click it once to advance to next slides, or if you click it twice, and then it'll just kind of come back to the previous one. So let's advance to this screen over here, and you can certainly do different type of doodles as you do the presentations. However, the most frequent feature that I use is to hit the print screen button, and on here I'll make a snippet. So if I would like to talk about the bird that I had, I don't really talk about birds or animals in my day-to-day tasks, but if I were to snip a architectural drawing, then I can circle and highlight a certain portion of the drawing and then talk about those things with my colleague as I send this snippet, which is quite handy and is the easiest way to show others what you are working on. I currently cannot set the pen's back button double click to be loading a snipping tool. This might just be Windows 11 or the driver issue that can be resolved in the future. Moving further down the device, let's look at the keyboard. I typed all the outlines for this video and was quite pleasant to type, and it feels light and quiet, which is perfect for business use as you don't want to be typing so loud on the meetings and the video calls and such. In regards to the layout of the keyboard, all is fine except for two different things. I'm actually not so sure why I need the same key twice over here, and perhaps this is due to being an engineering sample. Maybe it's meant for a different type of region, not necessarily the US keyboard or different keyboard. Also, there's a page up and down on top of the either side of the arrow keys. I have seen this key positioning on other laptops before, but I keep mispressing it where it causes my cursor to fly off to the next page instead of moving it coupled down by just pressing the left or the right. And because it doesn't have the typical bump on the arrow keys, so it doesn't really let me know where I am positioned in relative to other keys. So that is something that I have noticed. Perhaps you may not have this issue at all, but because I have the white version right now, the keycaps are white and the lettering is actually black. So if you were to turn on the backlighting, then it becomes really hard to read. So unless you're in a very dark space where you just can't see the keycaps at all, having the backlight on makes all the letters very difficult to read. If it's off, I can see it, but if you turn on the lighting, then yeah, it becomes impossible to read on a bright lighting like this. So most of the times I just kind of keep it off so that I can actually see the lettering. A few of those complaints aside, I do want to emphasize that these keys were very nice feeling and I did enjoy typing on it. So overall, I would actually highly recommend these keyboard. Whilst I did favor the keyboard, I have somewhat mixed feelings about the touchpad. It does have a very nice smooth top, which I believe is glass and quite wide for comfortable gesture controls fitting all of your fingers. However, I always felt that the touchpad is a bit too wide on MSI laptops. Whilst testing out this laptop, however, I've noticed that the positioning of the touchpad and the keyboard is quite well done. Therefore, it doesn't really cause my palm to touch or rest on top of the touchpad all that much. Occasionally, my right palm may clip the top corner. Your mileage will definitely vary since you all have different size hands and positioning of your hand when you're typing. As I am a tapper rather than a hard clicker on the touchpad, when the touchpad wobbles when you are tapping on it, it does bother me a bit. Unfortunately, I have noticed that the bottom side of the touchpad gives a bit. The amount varies between the two units that I have tried, so take my experience as a grain of salt since both of the units were engineering samples. You might have noticed that the fingerprint sensor is now off to the right side of the laptop. I wanted to test out the full potential of this laptop, so I have set it up and it works quite well unlocking the device. Although as I also have set up the Windows Hello with the IR camera on the top, it quickly recognizes me and unlocks the laptop as I wake this laptop up. And since we just mentioned the IR camera, although that and the webcam is different, let's talk about the webcam. The webcam is on top of the screen and it is 720p webcam. Whilst it is not going to be giving you the most amazing quality of the image, it does handle the image pretty well. This is quite a dark room right now, so there's a bit of a noise as you can see. However, in a well-lit space, I actually saw no noises like this. So yeah, it is not necessarily a fair way to compare webcams, but yeah, it seems nice. You should already be hearing my voice through the microphone of the laptop. However, I'm gonna type as I speak so you guys could kind of hear out what it would sound like if we were to do a video conference and you happen to be typing for note takings and such. Do you hear any of the sound that is coming into the microphone, or is the laptop minimizing any of the sound? Okay, let's go ahead and test out the speakers. To my untrained eyes, it actually sounds pretty good. I'm sure with this type of sound quality, you should be able to have your online meetings no problem. In terms of the heat and fan noise, as I have paired this device with Windows 11, there were quite a bit of driver updates and Windows updates. So the laptop seems to be turning on fans somewhat randomly, but right now it is not turning on at all and I'm not doing anything. It's just sitting on idle. But whenever it is doing some tasks, it does maintain the overall heat and the fan noises quite well, so it wasn't anything that was bothersome. And even when I pushed this laptop to do heavy tasks, it wasn't really overheating or anything like that, and the fan noise is overall well maintained, so I would certainly not worry about those aspects. And you can control different type of fan modes by going to MSI Center Pro. And over here you have choice of high performance, balance, silent, and super battery modes. And for the record, I have used this laptop mostly on balance mode and it seems to take care of most of the things that way. If this isn't your first laptop review video that you have seen of mine, then you will know how much I appreciate USB-C charging and the Thunderbolt. Particularly, this laptop has two of Thunderbolt 4 ports. It's kind of hard to say. Thunderbolt 4 ports on its side, and the native charger of this laptop is 65 watts USB-C charger. But I can still slow charge this laptop at 45 watts. And I have a lot of different type of chargers across home and the office, so I can basically go anywhere and just plug this laptop in to charge this laptop without carrying anything with me. And you can use chargers like this. This one is from Spigen. I'll leave the link in the description. And this is 45 watts and it is quite small. And it is all white. So it just kind of pairs quite well with this laptop. And then you can unfold out the prong and then just connect this charger to the power so that you can have this laptop charging. Mind you, it is a slow charge, so you can use a bigger one from Spigen as well, which is 100 watts if you want to push the maximum power to the laptop. But yeah, I would rather carry around something small like this, so it is all compact. Naturally, we'll move on to the battery portion of this laptop, and to sum it all up in short, the battery is excellent. On my browsing and video stream testing, the laptop was able to last 10 hours and 10 minutes. And I feel that is still very impressive, and that is like a solid day of work and a half. And obviously, depending on type of the task that you do and the settings that you have, your mileage may vary. However, my testing was at a reasonable settings with a screen brightness of 50%, and both the internet and Bluetooth were being used at the same time. So I feel the battery life of this laptop is quite respectable. And in terms of the specification and the price, this laptop is offered in a few different flavors. Both white and black are available for each type of tiers. The top tier includes the Intel 11th Gen i7 CPU, 1TB of SSD, and then 32GB of memory with Windows 10 Pro. And the second tier includes i5 CPU and 512GB SSD, and then 16GB of memory with Windows 10 Home. And I think both tiers are quite well balanced, meeting what people might need depending on their budget. And the top tier is currently selling for $1,700 US, and the second tier is selling for $1,260 on Amazon. And you can upgrade all of those Windows 10 onto Windows 11 for free, as you can see that I have done. In regards to the performance in the V-Ray benchmark, Intel Xe graphics isn't something that is sufficient for real-time renderings, but the CPU has no problem handling low to mid-size 3D models in SketchUp and Revit. So I can certainly do some model updates whilst I'm on the go, and it performed very well doing Photoshop and Illustrator, and you can do light video editing on this laptop too. The primary usage that I have used this laptop and tested for are the PDF file viewing, annotation, emails, web browsing, and also handwritten note or note-taking type of things. And actually, if you were to pair up this laptop with a external GPU or eGPU with its Thunderbolt port, then you can actually do real-time renderings that I said it cannot do. So it kind of opens up a huge door for all different type of things that you do with this laptop. I actually showcased that in my previous video, so if you haven't seen that video already, I'll leave the link in the description for those eGPU video. As this was MSI's first take on 2-in-1 trend and the pen input for the device, I do have to excuse a few things that I did not like the way the pen was implemented onto this laptop. Actually, many other 2-in-1 devices also suffer from very similar issues. I just wish that the laptop was a bit smaller and the overall build quality was a bit more solid. A few of those cons aside, I think the amount of hardware that's on the table and the overall pricing and the performance is really well done on this laptop. I paid the same price about 2 years ago on much less spec'd laptop. So if this laptop was available when I was doing research for my daily driver laptop, this would certainly been one of the top choices. And please feel free to use the link in the description to get a 2-in-1 laptop that can actually perform. If you have enjoyed this content, please like this video and consider subscribing to my channel to continue watching these type of videos. Thank you so much for watching. As always, I'll see you next time. Bye.